Good morning. Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze. Glad you joined us today. Now let's see here. We're going to talk a little bit of news today. Talk about a little bit of Trump's economy. Still waiting to see how all that's going to play out. Today he's going to be releasing his, he's called it Liberation Day, right? His tariff plan that was going to be released on April 2nd. I think it's supposed to be sometime around 4 p.m. I guess that's Eastern time. I really don't know. And then we'll discuss some other matters, current events. Wisconsin had an election with their court, and it did not go well. Looks like the liberals are going to maintain control, and then they may be able to redraw the districts to where, the Republicans lose a couple seats in the House, which is not good considering the House is extremely thin margins. Cory Booker breaks a record for seeing how long he could speak for really no good reason because it wasn't even a filibuster. We're going to talk about the speech that a rabbi gave in Congress addressing matters of anti-Semitism. It brings to mind some words from BLM. We'll talk a little bit about the rise of anti-Semitism and some of the discussions surrounding it, some of the sources. Surprising, I think. And is all this gearing up for the tribulation? Or at the very least, are we seeing that, I can see how these things are going to come together when the tribulation really does come? How, the Antichrist is going to be able to get his power in. Also, yesterday was the day of trans visibility. Yeah, it was yesterday, which makes... Yesterday was on April Fool's Day. Is that really is that meant to be a joke? Because if so, that's hilarious. But we'll talk about it, right? Because that's what we're going to do. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope that you are excited to dive into all of these fascinating, interesting topics. I'll remind you that we just got done wrapping up a 3-day Bible conference. And if you have interest in watching those, you can go over to YouTube. You go over to Worshipify, or if you go to, don't type in the HTTPS, just go to markbazeministries.org. This is our new website, still working on getting it all updated, but if you go to just simply markbazeministries.org, don't type in anything fancy. Here is the brand new website, and there's the live show going on right there. So not only can you watch the live show on YouTube, you can watch it right now. I mean, here I am. This is on my website going live to where you can watch it. It was built by our good friend Nathan White, and so I really appreciate him. But hey, look, there it is. Wow, how confusing is that? There's the scene of the website showing the website. But there you go. That's our new website, markbazeministries.org. We have some options there if you'd like to look at some articles. I need to get more of those updated. Also has the Bible conference on there. So right here on the left side, you may notice, look, addressing common Bible study mistakes, session 7, session 6, 5, 4, 3. And here's a really cool thing that Nathan did. If you click on, like here's session 6, it gives you a breakdown. So there it is. It gives you kind of the 7 major things that we tackle in this. So you kind of have a brief overview, a brief outline, and then you also get to watch and enjoy the entire thing. So real excited. That was one of the things we've been working on, building towards, and you helped support. You helped provide that. Your donations to this ministry allowed us to be able to have somebody like Nathan design a new website that is infinitely better. It'll update automatically. Really is going to be a great tool. Really appreciate each and every one of you for that and all your continuing support. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the judge election, the court election, judicial election, whatever term you want to use in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, it did not go well. Wisconsin has still been a stronghold ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned. That was kind of the breaking point. A lot of liberals had their rally cry, and for some reason they have convinced so many of the single women or progressive married women that abortion is a very important right that they need to have. And it's just been a tough issue at hand. I was going to try to pull up a link for it. It's not that it really matters, but essentially the court right now, before the election, was 4-3 liberals. And essentially, if the conservatives were able to get another judge on the court, it would have swung to 4-3 conservative. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and really, it was not even close. So quite disappointing. A real shame there. What does it mean? It means that it's going to be quite a battle, because they're going to be able to gerrymander and redraw the lines. So maybe those Republican seats that we have in Wisconsin will be lost, right? So not great. What does that say about their feelings towards Trump? I don't know, because Wisconsin, Trump won it by not the widest of margins at all. At the same time, does that really mean things? Sometimes people vote one way for one thing and one thing for another. It's kind of weird to me, but that is how they do it. For example, in Oklahoma, there were a number of people who are conservative who voted Republican governor, Democrat state superintendent, because they did not like Ryan Walters, and they have their reasons for that. So maybe is that kind of what we're seeing here? Yeah, they want to protect a few rights. They don't want to have what they think to be a radically right-wing court. So, hey, I pulled the lever for Trump, but let's go ahead and keep the status quo in the courts. Some people may be thinking that way. I'm just saying, don't look at necessarily the election of Wisconsin as a bellwether for everything. Maybe that means that Wisconsin and other swing states are going to go blue next time around, like for the midterms. It's possible. I'm just not putting much stock in it. Now, what do I know? I'm not the most well-studied, well-informed person when it comes to matters of Wisconsin politics, or even swing state politics. But I'm just saying, I don't know if it really tells us here as much as what you think. I think that the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all the rest, are going to read this as a loss for Trump, and that it's all spelling bad midterms for Trump. I think we got to wait and see. We've got to wait and see how the tariffs play out. We've got to wait and see how the economy does. I think that if riding into the midterms, if the economy is bad, I think the Republicans absolutely lose. And if the economy is good, or even moderate, the Republicans really have a chance, because people, one thing they do not like is the weakening of our southern border, and they do not like the weakening of our military. I think America feels better when they see the Vice President of the United States shooting a machine gun. That makes them feel good about themselves. A belt-fed, which we should all be able to own, even though we have some unconstitutional gun laws being enforced right now. All right, now, let's see here. Next thing up on the docket. So Cory Booker. He's a senator from Nobody Cares. I'm trying to remember. Is he a senator from California, I believe? I think that's where he's from. Let's just go ahead and pull up Cory Booker really quickly. And so here's the thing. Like, normally when you hear a senator give a long, lengthy speech, you always think, okay, so this is tied to a filibuster, right? There's some bill that's being voted on, and one party who's not in power is going to filibuster it to as long as they can. And there's been a number of long filibusters in history. I mean, very long. But Cory Booker gives the longest speech on the Senate floor, but it's not a filibuster. So normally you only do these really long things if you really are trying to filibuster something. Anyways, let's just go ahead and address this. So starting April 1st, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we're some 25 hours ago when it happened. New Jersey is where he's from. He spoke for 25 hours and 5 minutes, according to his office, which breaks the record for the longest floor speech in modern history of the chamber. Booker, 55, surpassed the late Senator Strom, this is from CNN, Thurman's speech that lasted 24 hours and 18 minutes in 1957. Booker said that he was speaking in spite of the previous record holder's remarks against the 1957 Civil Rights Act. So, why did he do it? See, back in 1957, when the filibuster was done, it was to prevent the passing of the Civil Rights Act. So, I mean, motive's not good at all, right? I mean, we all reject the idea of unequal rights. Okay, so anyways, moving on from that, he did it just to do it, in spite of that, I guess, because it accomplished nothing. He just talked about Trump and Elon Musk and how the government's in crisis, cuts to health care. I mean, he just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. He apparently prepped for it. I mean, he dehydrated himself and did not eat a little while beforehand so he wouldn't have to, take a little trip to the boys' room. So here's the thing. That was a lot of effort. No doubt about it. I mean, I spoke for around 7 hours over the weekend, okay, spaced apart, 7 sessions. Each session was roughly an hour long for the Bible conference, and I was tired. I'm sleeping really good right now, partly because the stress of the conference is over. That's impressive, no doubt about it. I'm not taking that away from you, but what's the point? And I think this just points out a broader thing of the Democrats, that they do a lot of things that have no point. Remember in 2021 or 2020, George Floyd, and for some reason the Democrats thought that it was a very important, significant thing to all gather together in the congressional building and wear the African scarves and then, kneel down on their knee, and Nancy Pelosi couldn't get up and needed help. They do a lot of things. They do a lot of things, and I don't really know what the point of it is. Like, what are they trying to accomplish? I think, truth be told, is this shows you that right now the Democrats still don't really know what to do. They just feel like they need to do something. So Cory Booker's like, I'll speak for 25 hours and 5 minutes. Hey, congratulations, you spoke for 25 hours and 5 minutes. And I guarantee you nothing that he said was remarkably new, was life-changing, life-altering in any way. Ken says, I thought he was going to have a mental breakdown at some of what I heard. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, fine. You're going to see it all over the headlines. Wow, Cory Booker takes the stand against Trump and Elon Musk and Doge, and wow, what an amazing, brave thing that he did. And, okay, moving on. It wasn't even an actual filibuster. So technically, he doesn't even hold the record for the longest filibuster. This is one of the things that frustrates me. Modern times, we're obsessed with, we've got to break former records, but they can't do it legitimately. So, the MLB records now have been altered because, for one, we have made the bases bigger. We've limited the number of pickoff attempts. We're doing all these things. Those records don't matter. The NBA, they have the three-point line now, so the records don't matter either from, the times before they had the three-point line. It's just they constantly change the rules so we can have new records and new things done. Oh, wow. But then it's not even a legitimate record. It's just not, because you're not comparing apples to apples. So this wasn't a filibuster. So yeah, okay, it's the longest speech ever, but he still didn't break the record for the longest filibuster. So I guess what he's going to have to do is, when the opportunity comes to actually filibuster, to do a real thing, he's going to have to, speak for another 25 hours and 5 minutes again. All right, let's see here. Now we're getting to the point here, getting to the interesting part of our show. There's an interesting scene from a rabbi, and I want to actually show it to you in case you have not seen it yet. Many of you maybe have watched it, because I know most of you are actually pretty well in tune. There was a speech given here by a rabbi, and I don't know where this rabbi was from, but he makes this statement that it is not enough to be anti-Semitic. So I hope that I can maybe find the clip for you. And if not, I don't know why I can't find it. But I just want you to like hear the words of it. But it's not showing up on YouTube. And I'm still not finding it, which is very frustrating. But there is a real clip of it. It absolutely exists. It is on the internet. And maybe many of you have maybe seen it already. There's jokes you could probably make right now. And I'm about to give up if I can't find it because I'm like doing all of the... okay, so here's from Threads, which I'm not a fan of Threads, but here's the clip here. Let me run this back. I think I don't have any audio for you, so give me just 1 second.
Racism is not just an age-old prejudice. It is a contemporary crisis manifesting on campuses across the nation. It is not enough for individuals or institutions to merely claim they are not anti-Semitic. As my father once taught me, it is not enough for people, especially public figures, to be neutral or not be anti-Semitic. One must be anti-Semitic. We must demand the same of our universities and government institutions. This hearing, in my opinion, is an attempt to be just that, anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism
right, so there's the clip for you. You know, it's very, very reminiscent, if you recall, from 2020, everything involving BLM, you name it. It wasn't enough to not be racist. You had to be anti-racist. So here are some thoughts that I have on this. I don't like it. I don't care who's using the term. It's not enough to be not something. You must be anti the thing, or anti the anti position. So I get what they're saying. It's really a call to action, right? So even when BLM did it, right, and they were, the politicians, we must be anti-racism. They're saying just simply not engaging in racism is not enough. You must be actively engaged against racism. Like, it's a call to action is what it is. And really what it allows them to do is say, listen, you're not actually against racism because you're not being an activist. The same thing fits in here because it's not enough to be anti-Semitic. You must be a part of the activist position, right? I really reject it. I don't like that language no matter what, because then it's not enough, right? It's never enough. You can say I'm not, I think that Israel has a right to exist as a nation. Okay, that's great, but what have you done for us lately, right? Kind of that mentality. And the same is true for however you apply it. So it's not good. Now, where is this coming from, though? For some of you, you may think, wait, this seems to be coming out of nowhere. It depends on what kind of media you pay attention to. So, yes, on the mainstream network, CNN, MSNBC, you name it, there has been, the suffering of Gaza has been a major focus. Israel needs to seek peace and not war, and all those things, right? There's been a lot of pressure on Israel. However, when we look at the broader things, like if you get on social media more and you're more online, I do have an X account. It's very interesting to see unfiltered media and news. At the same time, you get unfiltered other things as well. You get a lot of trash on there, so you've got to be very careful. I would not let my teenager have an X account. I'll just put it that way. If I had a teenager, one day I will. But it is good for actually seeing real news, real media. There is anti-Semitism going on, and an anti-Jewish mentality in a number of areas. So first of all, there's some of the big figureheads like Candace Owens and others who are taking a very critical approach to Israel and to Jews, all right? So some of this is based upon the attack on the USS Liberty back in the day, which was held, which was conducted by the Israeli, the IDF. I don't know if they were called the IDF back then, but it was Israeli military. And I'm not an expert on the history of that, exactly what the circumstances were, what led to it. Obviously, the narrative, the story is that it was a mistake, it was an accident, they didn't realize at the time. But they hold on to some of those real events and maybe a few other small things that they emphasize here and there, but then it's tied into larger narratives. So such as, Israel, Mossad was behind 9/11. Israel, Mossad was behind the JFK assassination. All sorts of theories and conspiracies and ideas. And so there's that room, or there's that wing of the anti-Semitic ideology that's going on right now, very popular, especially with younger people, I would say. But then it's also being married with the anti-Semitism that exists within like Reformed theology, and this is a real thing. So a lot of Calvinists, a lot of the Reformed, especially like the Presbyterians. There is a very extremely conservative wing of Presbyterians, which I do have a respect for, in the fact that they're at least conservative. So they're not the liberal Presbyterians who are flying the rainbow flag and appointing female priests or bishops, whatever terms that they use. But no, there are much more conservative. But they take a very harsh view of Israel. They see Israel, you're the ones that rejected the Messiah. You're the ones that crucified the Messiah. You are not God's chosen people anymore. You think you are. You're worshiping a false god. And very strongly against Israel. So title of the show, kind of having a little bit of fun with it, I guess. But also there are some deeper philosophical, even theological discussions to be had. I mean, are we setting the stage for the tribulation? I do not think we are in the prophetic age. Now, I do not claim to be able to see and know everything. So I don't know to what degree is Satan working right now. I know for some Christians that would be a total shocker, right? How can you say you don't know to what degree Satan's working right now? I'm saying I don't know. It seems to me like when we look in the Bible, the degree at which Satan's active kind of is matched by the level that God is active. So if we read in the days of the garden, God very active, walking with man, guess where Satan is? He's right there in the garden. If we look in the days of even the flood and the sons of God, I believe the fallen angels, the scheming, the wiles to thwart humanity, to corrupt the seed of the woman, God very active, also Satan very active. You see the king of Tyre in the Old Testament and other individuals as well that you see, there is more to this than meets the eye. Seems like Satan is at work. Guess who also is at work? God is at work. In the days of the New Testament, you have God himself in the flesh on earth, and guess who also is active? There's devils, there's Satan, there's Judas, all those things. And then the days of the tribulation, when they come, God very active. Guess what? Satan's also very active. So I just say all that to say, right now I look and I see God's provided his word. I think he's preserved his word. There's a few things baked into the cake. The world can't be destroyed by a nuclear bomb or a nuclear war because God hasn't decreed it. It's not going to allow it. I mean, and even if there is a nuclear war, there's got to be enough people to survive. I mean, there'll be some people make it through. It's not like all humanity will be killed, right? So see, I'm not a total optimist. But the world, humanity will exist, right? Because God's decreed it. So there's certain things that are assured, baked into the cake. But overall, though, are we seeing signs, wonders in the sky? No, we're just not seeing those things like on a biblical level. So if we're not seeing God being active at the biblical scale, I also don't think we have Satan being active quite on the biblical scale. So what I would say is, I really don't think that necessarily Satan is cooking up the anti-Semitism, okay? Could be wrong, but I don't think he is. Here's what I'm saying, though. If we're in a world right now where there is this strong slant bent towards a hatred of the Jewish people, sounds like everything is primed and ready for Satan to start putting his hand in the mix, and then it'll just be exponentially increased. Now, with that being said, I've already told you I'm against the idea of being anti-Semitic. Either you're anti-Semitic or you're not, okay? I don't think that you have to be held to a level of activism in order to be justified. And I'm not saying that everything Israel's done has been perfect. I'm not somebody who's an Israel apologist in every way that they do. That they could have done things differently. Now, once again, I feel like a lot of the people who are hypercritical of how Israel conducts their war with Gaza, I feel like it's really easy to be critical when you're not the one in the situation. If Mexico is occasionally sending rockets over and killing a few of our people, or sending in, soldiers to murder, Americans, and then they go back and they live within the suburbs, the cities of Mexico, what is your recommendation? Do we just take it? Do we just take it on the chin and brush ourselves off and just get back up, or do we send a military presence in to stop the threat? It just seems to me like you have a lot of criticism without a lot of answers. So a lot of criticism without a lot of answers seems to be the thing that I'm seeing. Maybe there's a better way forward. If you have a better idea, please share it. So with that being said, it's just very interesting to me how all these different aspects are working in. So you've got the conspiracists, you've got the fringe, ideologies, that say the Jews, Israel, they're behind everything. And then on the other hand, you have, sorry, I was reading a comment from Paul and it threw me off because I saw the bright red in my name flash up. Paul says, Mark, catching up on the Bible conference, finished session 4, great stuff. Hey, thank you, Paul. I wish you could have been there with us. It was a really fun time, maybe next year, but I'm glad you're enjoying it. And that's why we recorded it. That's why we uploaded it, so you guys will be able to watch it at any time. It'll be available to you. Session number 4. I think that's making application the objective. That's a good one. I hope. I think it's a good topic. Hopefully I presented it well. That's what I meant. I sounded a little bit arrogant there. But it's an important issue because it's a common Bible study mistake. Getting back on my train of thought here. So there is that more conspiratorial type view, but then there's also the Christian view, the Reformed wing of things, right? That is very much, we've replaced Israel, we are the apple of God's eye. Now, here's where I want to be clear with you. I'm of the position that God is not dealing with Israel today in any way. The only thing that God is doing is what's baked into the cake of preserving the seed of Abraham, okay? The lineage of Abraham. Maybe that'd be a better term to use, his genealogy, because God has promised a future for Israel. And so even if, whoever, Hitler wanted to, somebody else wanted to, they could not eradicate every Jew from the earth, because we know in the book of Revelation, there is the remnant of Israel that remains. So that would be about all that we could say biblically, theologically, that God is doing today. And to a degree, how much does that require of him? I mean, could you eradicate every person with German descent? Because I have German. I think my last name actually is like German in nature, or it's etymology, whatever. So Baze, I think it was short for something else. I have no clue. But I mean, could you really? How easy would it be to eradicate every German? How many people are German and don't even necessarily know they're German unless they did a 23andMe, which I'm very skeptical of those things. Like, I really don't want to give my DNA to people. Call me crazy. But, I mean, how much divine intervention does it take? I mean, there could be people who carry the Abrahamic bloodline right now and not not know it. So maybe somehow in the days to come, when the tribulation comes, they'll realize it. They'll see their Judaism. I don't know, at least their heritage of it. So it's very fascinating to me. I think this is it's an interesting area that I really need to make clear for people. As far as my theological position, I don't know that I can persuade men, but I can certainly present my theological position. Yes, it's true. God is not dealing with Israel today. They are not, at this point, I would use the phrase loa me. They're not God's people right now. Just as in the days of Hosea, even in the days of like the judges when they were disobedient at times, the loa me period, when he would hand them over to be afflicted by the Canaanites or whatever, or just not protect them, not give them the divine protection and guardianship. So God's not dealing with them. There's nothing special about being Jewish today. They don't have any special blessings from God for being Jewish. And unfortunately, if they stay in their Judaism, they're not going to be reconciled. And they're going to be lost. And they're going to stand before the great white throne, be judged according to their works, and cast into the lake of fire. Because guess what? Keeping of the law in today's time benefits you nothing. It does not put you in right standing with God. You get no righteousness from keeping the law in this age. So it's a really sad thing. But we have not replaced Israel. You can't go back. That was one of the major points of my discussion in the Bible conference was we cannot go back into the Old Testament and claim those promises for us. So like application on every page. We can't apply the promises and the instruction to the Old Testament for us today because we're not in that age. It's a different time. It's a different people. It's a different promise. So it's a weird dichotomy. We're not Israel. Israel's not God's special chosen people right now in this age. God's not dealing with them in any unique way. Being Jewish profits you nothing. Yet at the same time, there are promises still for Israel yet to be fulfilled. And people need to grasp that. They need to grasp it. They need to accept it. Because otherwise it really does lead to a gross anti-Semitic view within Christianity. That a very lowly view. And I think that, if we consider Romans 11, and there's a number of different ways to interpret this matter of Romans 11 here, but I would just encourage us. We need to be really careful when we start venturing into that mentality. Because Romans 11 says this right here. Now, there are some that say that these are the Jews that live outside of the land, brought into the covenant. But then again, there's also the idea that, no, we're not. It's the matter of the wild olive tree being grafted in. Are we grafted into Israel, or are we grafted into the root and fatness of the olive tree? And what is the root and fatness of the olive tree? See, Israel's the olive tree. What is the root? What is the fatness? Is that the Lord? So even here, we could consider who this is about, and if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, like who is thou? Is that just speaking to Israelites who do not live in the immediate land of Israel, that they are living in the nation since the diaspora, the dispersion? Being a wild olive tree, wert grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. It says, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root. Thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. It's not that you don't have the root has you. Don't be high and mighty here in your own mentality. Thou will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. So God discarded Israel all for me. But Paul's saying, no. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. And thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Now that's an interesting one right there. This is where I understand this verse right here really sounds like a verse that would not fit with, God not sparing us does not sound like the age of grace. But if we're if we're using a more singular, like the being a representation of just man, Gentiles, the Gentile, the man of the nations. Well, God didn't spare Israel because they didn't believe. This could be taken, and I think maybe Dr. White takes this view. I'm not entirely sure. Dr. Randy White, good friend of ours, has mentored me in a lot of ways. Could this be to say, hey, listen, Gentiles, don't be arrogant against Israel, because just as they were broken off for their unbelief, in your high-mindedness, if you don't believe, you're not going to have this guarantee. This offer is only limited time. You're only going to have it so long. It's not guaranteed to have forever. So, interesting things. I would just say, don't be arrogant. Don't look down on Israel because, oh yeah, we're God's special people. Well, no, we have the opportunity to be reconciled unto God as individuals, saved by grace through faith. So, it's an interesting discussion. And like I said, I'm not entirely convinced that we're seeing the chess pieces being put in place in preparation for the tribulation necessarily. But it's kind of like the COVID vaccine. It was really hard for me to picture, how are you going to get people just to come in droves to get a mark on their hand or their forehead to buy and sell, until I saw people lining up in droves to get the COVID vaccine so they could go to the grocery stores. Not that it really happened in Oklahoma, but there were actually places like in New York that you had to have your vaccine card in order to go into the grocery store and get food, and people did it. That sounds a whole lot to me like when the time comes, yeah, people will be raring to get their mark so they can buy and sell. And if there's already a hatred of Israel in the waters, just as it is, without the Antichrist stirring the pot, without Satan stirring the pot, it'll be easy work to get the world to turn against Israel, because there already is those underlying currents. Like I said, I don't think we're in the prophetic age. I'm just saying, when you see prophecy about the tribulation and the because like I said, I hold to a pre-trib rapture anyways, because I don't mix oil and water. That's why I hold to a pre-trib rapture, because the tribulation is law, it is prophetic, we are grace and mystery. They're just two different categories altogether. It makes no sense to mix the two, because grace and mystery does not mesh with law and prophecy. It becomes nonsensical. It makes no sense. It's like a square circle. It's oil and water. You cannot mix the two. Therefore, there must be an end to this age, and all those who were within that mystery grace program have to be out of the way. You got to take them out of the picture. And that only leaves you with those who are not partakers of the mystery age. They rejected the offer. They weren't reconciled. They were pagan Christians with those who held to some form of Christianity but didn't get it. Catholicism, if they're too instaunched in the partaking of the sacraments for salvation, confession, you name it. And it leaves you with those who were never reconciled in the mystery age, in the grace age. And now what do you have? The only thing you have left is the tribulation, law, prophecy. So I say all that to say I hold to a pre-tribulation rapture. At the same time, that doesn't mean that we can't start seeing the world gravitating towards that way. It really seems to me like when the time comes, the Antichrist, it won't take much. It won't take much. When you read in Revelation, we've been doing a series on the last days. You know, if I go to my Mark Baze Ministries brand new website, here's our, over here on the left side, here's the last days series right here. And we've got a lot already on there. I've got to get some more put on, because we had a little bit of a time span in which I didn't get all the Revelation sessions on there. Like I got to fix that. The 42 months and 2 witnesses, I've got to fix some of those. But you can go to YouTube and they're all on there. My point is, when you look at all the things that are going to happen, wars, natural disasters, famine, massive death, and all those things, people panic. I mean, people panicked over a virus in which not even 1% of the population died. What about when 50% of the population dies? They'll be ready, and it'll be so easy for the Antichrist to set up his one world order. For a brief time, I think he's going to deceive Israel, convince them that he's the Messiah, and then quickly stab them in the back, turn his back on them, turn the world against them. Luke asked me an interesting question. This is a very interesting discussion, Luke. I am still trying to figure out my position on it. Luke says, Mark, do you see a gap between the rapture and the 70th week starting? I think it's possible that there is a gap. As a matter of fact, I think I would lean towards there being a gap. I don't know how long. That gap could be a few months. That gap could be a few years. It could be a few decades. And the reason being is I really think that it's possible when you get to like Revelation chapter 5, or sorry, Revelation chapter 6, and you see the seals begin to be opened. I don't know that like the rider on the white horse, I don't know that necessarily starts the 70th week, the final 7 years of tribulation. This could be, the rapture could take place, and then you've got this world leader come on the scene. And he may rise to power over the course of a few months, a few years, a few decades. I don't know. And then only after that does the spirit of the Antichrist inhabit him, just as like Satan inhabited Judas in the Gospels. Gospel of John speaks to that. I mean, I think you could have the first seal, the second seal, with war, famine, balances there, measure wheat for a barley. You could have all that going on, I think, before. And then I think when you get to the fifth seal, that's when you have the souls that were slain for the word of God, under the altar, bearing testimony. That could be the beginning of it when it actually starts. So there actually could be a gap, because we do know, I think there was a gap in the tribulation, or there was a gap in things with the stoning of Stephen, because that threw things off. Stephen stoned. Peter goes to Cornelius. There is still that matter of bringing the kingdom message to all people. Paul begins his ministry, and his ministry still kingdom matters at first, and it's not till he's in the temple and God sends him to the Gentiles to go, and we start seeing the grace message being preached. So I think so. Robert agrees. He says, I agree, but I think the 70th week in the gap must be finished by 3 to 40 years by 340 years at the most. I don't know quite what you mean there, Robert, but I agree though. It's not, I don't think it's going to be a long, long, long time. I think it'll be in decent order. Luke says, we know from Daniel 9:27 that the start of the 70th week is the confirmation of the covenant. I've been studying Daniel 11, and some of the stuff that happens there seems to be in a gap, verses 5 through 20. Yeah, I don't see Daniel 11, verse 5. Talking about the kings, the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him and have dominion. And in the end of the years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the arm. Yeah, there's a lot of events happening of the kings of the south, the king of the north, putting all those things together. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all. Luke, are you help me out, are you from South Dakota? Are you the one that's from South Dakota? I can't remember. If you're from somewhere else, then I apologize. I just can't remember. All right, let's go ahead and move on a little bit. I see a question here from Paul. Mark says, Paul says, Mark, I was going to say one little thing. When you're doing a recordings of people asking you a question, you can't really hear them. So I was going to suggest maybe repeating your question. Yes, I should have done that. You're absolutely right. One of these days when we get real fancy, because this was just our first one, when we get real fancy, we may have a microphone. That way people can say it. That way not only, it's easier for everybody to hear it because maybe not everybody can hear it, but also it'll be on the recording. So yeah, I should have done that, Paul. You're absolutely right. If you have a particular question about a particular one, I may be able to recall what the topic of it was. Toby says, is Bill Maher going to be wearing the MAGA hat soon? I don't know. I don't know if I trust him yet. He's still pretty liberal, but I don't know. Maybe. That'd be pretty funny, though. He'd have to become a Christian first, I feel like. He's very much... His form of atheism does not mesh well with MAGA. So maybe he'd convert to Catholicism? That seems to be like what all the atheists are doing nowadays. I don't know. Yeah, Ken does note that the Florida congressional races were a wipeout. That is good. I mean, Florida's solid red, guys. I think that we're good for a good while. We don't have to worry about Florida. Florida and Texas have got to hold the line. North Carolina has got to hold the line. I mean, the truth is, I think Pennsylvania is the stronghold, I think. I mean, we can, because we got Ohio sealed up. Ohio's basically a red state now. So if you can hold on to Texas, Florida, North Carolina, and then Ohio, they're ours, pick up Pennsylvania. And we technically don't have to have Wisconsin. Now, I want Wisconsin to be red for the sake of our friends in Wisconsin, like Myra. Myra says we made a horrible decision last night. Yeah, it's tough. We hate it for you guys because we know there's a lot of really good conservative people in Wisconsin. It seems like it's just the elites in the cities, the blue cities, that really are hard to overcome. Trying to understand your comment there, Paul. Says, see something, even if it's negative, say, towards Trump, like if he's doing something wrong. I'm not surprised, too. It just doesn't bother me. I mean, if you're just talking about, like, Trump doing negative things, I mean, yeah, Trump's not perfect. Pam Bondi was, like, one of the worst decisions he ever made because she's not going to be pro-Second Amendment. The Trump administration's already let me down a little bit. I was really hoping to see a lot more reforms done for like the ATF, stronger pro-Second Amendment positions. Like coming out of the Supreme Court wasn't great with the receiver decisions. So kind of discouraging. Oh, Paul says your point was you didn't get to finish because other people started to comment. Oh, I see what you said there, Paul. Okay, I see your. I'm pretty much conservative as you are. The one thing I've noticed with myself is that I've stopped strongly paying attention to the world, and most of the time when I see something, even if it's negative, say towards Trump, like if he's doing something wrong, I'm not surprised too. It just doesn't bother me. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and the more you live on this earth, like that's kind of what I'm realizing as I'm getting older. Yeah, you're not gonna be surprised. I mean, I I don't think Trump is going to do everything I wanted him to. I can already tell he's not going to do everything I wanted him to. But like I've said, the biggest things for Trump is appointing judges and the border and the military. I mean, I think those are our biggest things. If he can get our economy going great, I mean, that's awesome. It needs to be done. We need to bring more things stateside, I think, for manufacturing, so we're not so dependent upon everybody else. But there's a few key things Trump needs to do, I think. And then the rest of it, we need to battle out in the states more locally, I think is what we've got to do. Earl says, howdy, everyone. A speculation, could they be unbelieving Jews and they be the believing Jews in Romans chapter 11? Yeah, that's possible. There are some, Earl, who take that view. And I have taken that view before, being the Jews who didn't believe in Israel, but then the Jews that were not living in Israel believed, like on the day of Pentecost, right? Because those that were in Israel, like that day, rejected Christ, but then there were some from all sorts of nations who believed. That is one way to take that verse. I'm not telling you that Romans 11 is 100% about us as the wild olive trees. It's entirely possible to take it that way. Really? Paul says, Mark, did you hear about the 420-acre Muslim community commune, whatever you want to call it, being built here in Texas soon? I did not. Guys, Islam is playing the long game. They really are. I mean, plain and simple. Here's the thing that scares me is they have children and we don't. Like Christian families, Christian families will have 2 kids, 3 kids. And which is great. But Muslims have lots of kids. And they're gonna outbreed us, just like they're doing in England. Just like they're doing in France. I mean, they play the long game, y'all. And yeah, they can be pretty moderate when they need to be, but also Quran says what Quran says. It's kind of nerve-wracking. One final thing I want to make note before I let you go today. Yesterday, I believe, was Trans Day of Visibility. So it was it was yesterday, so Monday, it was Monday, March 31st. Okay, so it was not April Fool's Day, it was on Monday. Excuse me, sorry. It's that time of year. I was outside doing stuff, and now I've got allergies. My only comments are, do you recall last year? Because last year, Trans Day of Visibility happened to land on the same day as Easter. And our president at the time, President Sleepy Joe, made his big announcement, Happy Day of Trans Visibility, without mentioning anything of Easter. The first thing he said was Happy Trans Day of Visibility. And then he got to Easter a little bit later. Isn't it just nice to have Trump in the White House? Just for that alone. I mean, fault the guy for whatever you want. The nonsense of Transgender Day of Visibility is, it's a big black eye to our nation. That alone right there is quite encouraging to me. One other thing that I want to add is very concerned about Colorado. Colorado looks like, this comes to me from Chuck, our good friend. He sent me this email. Colorado looks like it's well on its way to banning many forms of semi-automatic rifles. And the bill is Senate Bill 25003, and it passed the Senate on February 18th, and the House on March 24th has passed it as well. So now Governor Jared Pulsey's desk is going. It'll be going to him, and it's it's much more than like a high-capacity magazine ban, which high capacity, what does that mean? How much is high? They always say, well, it's more than 10 rounds, okay? Sure, that's arbitrary. They're also going to ban different types of semi-automatic firearms. This is horrible. It's ugly. It's disgusting. Colorado, it's a real shame that you are being subjected to this, because I know that there are conservative people that live in Colorado, but you're being out elected by all the big liberal cities. You know, Denver counts for so much. And I hate it for you. This is wrong. And here's our moral dilemma. Here's our moral dilemma. Do you comply when you know, at the risk of, when governments confiscate your firearms or your means of self-defense, it is putting you in position to be greatly oppressed by your government. I guarantee you there are people right now who live in the UK who wish they still had their guns. Or do you stand up and you say no? I don't know. Do you stand your ground or not? Because here's the amazing thing to me. There have been people stand up to laws before and succeed. We can see it in a number of ways. You got to fight it. You got to take it to the, I don't know. Can you take it to the Supreme Court? Because already so many of those bans are allowed in places like New York. California's had some of those bans in place. I don't know. That's what happens when you have a state that has lovely weather and all the liberals just move to it and ruin it. Just absolutely ruin it. That's maybe the only saving grace for Texas, is Texas is miserably hot in the summertime, and the liberals are soft, and they don't like it when it's really hot, and they've got to have a little bit of their nice mountain air, their little ski resorts, or their little tropical ecosystems. So maybe Texas will be saved because the leftists just aren't tough enough to handle that Texas heat. But it is concerning. It happens to Colorado, New Mexico could follow. It's a bad deal. It's really a bad deal. I think Trump could do himself a lot of good by taking a stance, because there's a lot of conservative people who are feeling a little bit disenfranchised because Pam Bondi, terrible attorney general for gun rights, has not delivered on the Trump promises. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how things play out. Tonight, I will note that I'm not going to be teaching. I'm taking the Wednesday night off just because I'm trying to relax, recoup a little bit from all the preparation. But my good friend Evan will be teaching tonight, and I'm going to live stream it. So I'm planning on recording it. You'll be able to listen to him teach. I'm not quite sure. I think he's going to keep with the theme of If They Asked, and I'm not sure exactly what the question's going to be, but he'll be teaching tonight. So we should be going live at 6:30, and you'll be able to listen to that. Should be a good, fun time. Paul says, I was born and raised in Wisconsin, lived most of my life in Southern California, and it took me 4 years to finally get used to the heat down here, and now I actually like it. Yeah, hopefully, don't tell the liberals that, Paul. Here's the thing. The honest truth is, if you will just be outside for like 30 minutes, your body acclimates so fast. I remember like a few years ago, I was cutting some trees down with an axe because I'm old school like that. And it was like 98. And you get used to it. What kills you is jobs in which you're constantly in and out. So like when I worked construction some in the summer when I was in high school, probably doing things I wasn't supposed to do, but my dad was the boss and we were able to get work done. Save the school tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars maybe, I don't know. Billions of dollars. What was tough is when you're in the air conditioning and then you go out and you work in the heat for a little bit and you go back in, back and forth, that's what kills you because you never just get acclimated. That's where it's hard. That's where it's really tough. All right, everybody, I think I'm rambling. I think I'm done for the day. Tomorrow is going to be Theology Thursday. So be thinking of your theology questions. I want to hear them. Please give them to me. I do want to respond. Paul says, I'm not going to lie. I'm almost 50 and play airsoft pretty much every Saturday morning for about 5 hours. Talk about conditioning and good exercise. Hey, that is good. There's a lot of guys that will legitimately use airsoft for training. So really good stuff. I like it, Paul. That's cool. Hey, you need to come see us sometime. Bring your family back. We'd love to have you, Paul. We miss you, okay? Come back and see us sometime. Let me know, and we'll try to have lunch or something afterwards, okay? Paul's not too far away to come see us. Mary, thank you so much for adding that in there. She says Governor Abbott is having the Texas Rangers investigate them. I hope that they do. It's really close. All right, everyone. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let y'all go for the day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. If you have anything you would like to reach out to me, have any questions, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Like I said, Theology Thursdays tomorrow, so if you have a question, be sure to let me know. With that, this has been Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze, trying to take the Word of God's sound doctrine and save the churches in America. All right, that's what I want to do. I really do. I want to fix Christianity because it's broken right now. We've got to fix it. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much.